Hello and welcome to Gaming Game. My name is Muzz and today I am doing a Muzzpressions video on Returnal, the latest game by Housemarque, the latest PlayStation 5 exclusive, and a game that I have been very excited for because I have enjoyed Housemarque's previous work. They've done Resogun, Next Machina, and they've done Alien Nation and one other game that I can't quite remember. They have a high pedigree when it comes to moment-to-moment gameplay, and this was looking similar to it. However, they also seem to include a story. So let's dive into it, and I'll give you my early thoughts on the game. Probably played about just over 10 hours and got to World 3. The main There's one main issue, and I want to get it out of the way first because I'm going to praise the game a lot, and I'm going to make the game sound very fun because it is. However, there is a big, I don't think oversight because this is the way they want to make the game, but the game seems pretty long, and from what I'm hearing, if you want to complete the game, you need to do it in one run. There is no save mechanic. Like, you can't start it up, save it, and then come back to it a couple days later. You have to set aside time to complete this game, which some people are arguing that that's the way the game should be, and others are arguing that it should have a save function. I'm in the save function camp. I think that games should respect your time and understand that a lot of people don't have the time to set aside, however many hours, 2, 3, 4 hours maybe, to complete this in one sitting. You can advise you to put your console in rest mode, but I mean, there's so many things that could go on wrong there. Your power could cut, your game could crash, someone might just want to play a different game, and you might even just forget. There's a lot. You don't want to keep your PlayStation on rest mode for, days at a time. So that's my main gripe with the game. It's just the save functionality. I think it should have a save, because it would just mean that you can, get into it, play an hour of it. If you've got to go, save it up, and then you don't have to worry about losing any progress. You can just come back to it. That's really only the big negative that I'm going to say. The game is, I'm loving it. The moment-to-moment gameplay is phenomenal. As the game is getting harder and harder, the situations that it puts you in, it's very Doom-like. Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, where you have these kill rooms and you have a bunch of enemies in there. It's all about keeping moving, using your weapons, using your abilities to overcome the odds, because more often than not you're outgunned, you've got 2, 3, 4 smaller enemies, then you've got bigger enemies to deal with. It can get pretty intense at times, and it's a rush. When you overcome a room that is filled with enemies, you're in a groove with it. It's phenomenal. You have, base weapon, which you can swap out. There's many different ones. I've found, I think, 5 or 6 at this point. You've got like a shotgun, you've got a carbine, you've got a kind of rocket launcher as well, and you've got like a kind of light machine gun type one. But they're not all the same. Like, each run is based, each weapon has like random traits. So you might have a shotgun that has a slug shot, so that means it can actually shoot quite far, or you might have it with a kind of narrow spread of the shotgun bullets, or a wider spread. And same with the carbine, you can have one that starts off slow, and then as you fire it, it gradually speeds up. And yeah, there's also different abilities that you can get in terms of your consumable items. You can have, you know, things that affect time. You can have just healing items. You can have like spikes that you put on the ground that hold an enemy in place that are quite useful for the more challenging ones if you want to try to get away from them. There's a lot in this game, and I'm probably going to miss some stuff, but the combat is fantastic, and it is a great um, time. It's just a fantastic time when you get into the groove, when you start to understand the mechanics, when you're dodging through bullets, shooting enemies. You've got also an alt fire. I didn't even mention the alt fire. Every weapon has an alt fire. Again, that changes. You've got electricity. You've got like homing rockets. You've got a whole bunch of different things, and they're all randomized because it's a roguelike. And basically a roguelike is where you're kind of expected to die in this game, but each time you die, you kind of make it a little bit further on your next run to the point where you can, you know, get to the end of the game, hopefully. The enemies are challenging. I was liking the design of them at first until everything had tentacles, but I don't want to spoil anything, but it does change up as you go through the areas. They pack a punch. Some of the enemies you fear when you see them. You're like, oh my days, I need to deal with this. So let's move on to the story. The story is another interesting aspect of the game that I, for the moment, am enjoying. You're basically chasing this signal called White Shadow. You don't know what it is. They work in the roguelite elements actually into the story, so Celine doesn't know that's the main character, didn't even introduce her. So you play Celine. She doesn't know why she keeps waking up, why she is stuck in this kind of loop. And you actually find out from herself, she leaves audio logs for you in the campaign or in the story to find, in the levels to find, where you can, you know, listen to her, and she kind of gives you some context for some of the things that you're seeing, or she's explaining what's going on, which is quite good. There's also
the technology. There are certain obstacles I don't look forward to re-experiencing.
Okay. First person moments in a house where you're kind of being stalked by like a spaceman, and it's very PT like. I like these bits because it's breaking up the gameplay a bit. We're a bit slower, more atmosphere in there, but that bit is pretty fun. It's not fun. It's pretty. I like it because it's kind of a mystery. You don't really know what's going to go on, and it seems like in order to get the full story, you need to complete the game and then explore a little bit more. So the story is interesting at the moment. It's keeping me invested in it. I want to find out what is happening to Celine. Again, I like the fact that they're incorporating the roguelike elements into the story. And the movement I've already talked about, fantastic. Just the main selling point for me or for buying the PlayStation 5 is the dual touch controller, dual sense, sorry, and the 3D audio. And this game does fantastic job of making use of both of them. 3D audio helps you in combat. You can, if you're running away from something, you can hear it in your headset, and you can have better feel and sound for where the enemies are in the battlefield. And you can also just hear them from the next room, which is always intimidating when you hear like a big growl from the next room. But the haptic feedback on the controller is top notch. Like the first moment you pick up the controller and you feel the rain just vibrating on the controller, and you're like, wow. The triggers, adaptive triggers, are very good as well, and they use them in a very interesting way, where if you hold down L2 slightly, you zoom in, give you a more accurate shot. If you hold it in all the way, you actually activate your alt fire. So that is a good way. It's a very intuitive way because you're not having to, you know, fiddle with buttons. You just kind of pull it down a little bit more, and then you've got your alt fire, and it's second nature to me now. And only 10 hours in. Returnal is, I don't know if it's going to be for everyone. I like it because I like Housemarque, I like these games. It is a bullet hell at points. In fact, a lot of the combat is bullet hell, where there's just so much bullets on screen. You're trying to just tease your way around them. You can dodge through them as well. The boss battles, while the first one wasn't that good, I found it quite tedious just because it felt like a bullet sponge. But the second one I enjoyed a lot more. Was a lot more going on, a lot more difficult as well, which I found. And the areas, I've only played 3 areas at the minute, and they're all very distinct. I only show the first 2 because they've been what's in the media. I'll save the third one because that's kind of got some spoilers in it. But certainly the first 2 are very distinct. The first 3 areas are very distinct. First one's like a dark, dingy forest with tentacle plants growing out the wall. The second one's like an open desert until you go into a mountain, and you've got to ascend the mountain to get to the boss. It's all good stuff. You have a grappling hook as well, which helps you traverse the area, access more of the environments, access more of the secrets. It is a good game, is what I'm trying to get across here. I like Returnal. I'm having a blast with it. I forgot the melee attack. You have a melee in there as well, which is really, I only use it as like if an enemy is right up on me. I usually try to keep my distance, but and then there's the parasites. You know, I'm just remembering stuff off the top of my head now. You can buff your suit, but with the parasites, it often comes at a cost. So say you get something that's like up your protection by 10%. That's good, that's the buff. And then the debuff is like affects your dash, so your dash cooldown is a little bit longer, which I really do not recommend because the dash is key for surviving a lot of the tougher encounters, in my experience anyway. You can risk reward things. There's so much that I've not talked about, but I'll try and get through it. There's shops that you can buy upgrades for. You can augment your suit to give you more health. The weapons you have to use to upgrade, so you can get better weapons. So the more you use, the more enemies you kill, the more access to higher powered weapons you have. Jesus, this game has a lot of systems in it that are just going on. But I think I've explained basically the basics. If you want to find out any more, you can watch some of my streams on it. I've done the first hour. But yeah, it's a very good game. It's a very good game at the moment. I don't know how I'm going to feel getting on to the later ones, and if I get close to the end and then I die, and then if I've just essentially wasted 2-3 hours. Again, that's part of the game, you know, but it took me an hour and a half to clear 1, 2, and get to 3 in one run. So that's a long time. If that's my average and there's 6 zones, it'll take me, what, 4.5 hours to complete this game? Oh, which is a long time to be sitting, especially a game of this intensity. Like, you need to concentrate during battles. It is not something you can like take half-heartedly. You need to go in and commit to these battles because there's a lot going on, especially as the game goes on. But yeah, I think I've probably missed something. I know I've missed something, but that is Returnal. I thoroughly recommend it if you like hard games. If you have a PlayStation 5, it is a good showpiece. It is a PlayStation exclusive, so it's something that we've been craving for. We're finally getting some good games out now with this and Resident Evil. But yeah, that's all that's really left to say. I'm enjoying my time with Returnal, and I look forward to hopefully progressing and actually beating it. That is obviously the game that the objective for me is to beat the game, but who knows? So that is me. All that's left to be said is any thoughts, comments, general hostile remarks, leave them below. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Oh, hello. Oh, what? Bullet hell. Much. How am I supposed to... These things are just made. Try to concentrate on them. Where'd she go? We're doing not bad. We're not bad. There's 3 bloody modes of this person. Okay, we got 1 mode.